with this story, welcome to my ADHD obsessions. We've talked about this story a couple times already, and I can't let it go. And people have been interested every time because when I come across something like this, it doesn't make sense, man. It's like,
yeah.
I don't even know. I can't even explain to you what it's like. But so what I did and what we're talking about, I have named it the Northeastern Slasher. Okay, so there have been multiple knife crimes that are very, very, very similar to Idaho 4. And very, very, very strange recurrences with all of them, okay? I did include an extra one in here because we like to respond to our viewers, and somebody was talking about this case. Now, I don't believe that this additional case has anything to do with these, but I did want to talk about why. So, right about now, you will see something pop up on the screen. I know we have some audio listeners, so I'll do the best to explain what we're looking at for audio, while our YouTube and visual watchers will be able to see what's going on here. Excuse me. So, this is what I made. I made a table and chart, okay? And it has on the top row the names of the victims. So who we're going to be looking at is Sandra Ladd, Travis and Jamie Lynn Juten, and the Idaho 4 murders, okay? Now, on the left-hand side, we have the date of the crime, the time of the crime, the weapon used, the potential, and I know this is theory, excuse me, I know this is theory, but potential cooldown. And I know you guys have heard us talk about this before. It's a very big deal when you're talking about serial enders. So their cooldown period is very, very
You're saying like predictable?
Yeah, expected, predictable. It's almost the same every time, where they get the itch, they start hunting, they end somebody, and then they're on cooldown where they relive that ending over and over and over and over. And every serial ender is different. Some of them it's around 3 months, others it's around 12 months. Okay, so we're breaking down that number to see if it's comparable. Next, we have personal information here. That's going to be age, location, pets, others present, so other people at the scene, forced entry, DNA left, and then just below that we have other details, and of course I had to include bushy eyebrows and where was Kohberger at the time of these crimes. Okay, so we broke down all this information. We actually went deep here. Now, the fourth one I'm talking about, guys, is Julie Ray of Lawrenceville, Illinois, which from an outsider perspective, without digging into the crime, it looks like it could match, all right? It was 2 people home. One of them was ended by a knifed assailant. But here is the breakdown. So it was a big ordeal where it was a mother and her 13-year-old boy. The guy broke in and ended the 13-year-old boy while the mother was home. He didn't harm the mother in any way, shape, or form. Now, when this went to trial, the mom actually got blamed. The mom actually got convicted, okay?
What?
The boy was ended with 2 kitchen knives from their set. And when the killer left, he dropped them and ran out, being chased by the mother. They thought the mom did it, all right? So the mom literally got convicted of this crime. Now,
Oh my god.
later, about a year later, and she was going through all the things to prove she didn't do it. And like, what an awful situation to be a mother of a 13-year-old boy and lose him and then be blamed for it, right?
No kidding.
There was there was a serial ender around that time that focused on children, that used knives, that traveled around, that got convicted in Texas, caught and convicted in Texas. And that person's name is Tommy Lynn Sells. All right. Now, Tommy Lynn Sells is since deceased, but investigators put it together, private investigators put it together, that they believe he was the one who did it. Somebody reached out to him, and he confessed. He focused on kids only, which is strange. I actually want to cover his story and will at a different time, because it's awful. It is horrible, you guys. But he confessed to it and gave details proving why he was the guy. It was details not released, things like that, to prove the mom wasn't it. So we know who that was, right? Well, on these other times, he wasn't in the area to be these others, and there's some very key differences, all right? So I figured we'll just start from the top here. For those of you listening to this the first time, that wasn't on our I'm coughing too right now, so that wasn't on our live stream and didn't see the opening video for this topic. Sandra Ladd was a victim of a knifed crime, okay? She was 71 years old. A horrible, horrible act ended in her sleep, and her family has no idea who did it. They've offered a reward for information, and nothing has come of it, and it is a cold case. Now, who is Travis and Jamie Lynn Jutton? They were a newly married couple that had been together for a very long time. They also were attacked in their sleep while they were in bed by a knifed assailant. They had, well, I guess we'll get into those other details, but they also had no movement, zero. The family has been begging and pleading and trying to get movement.
Cold case.
Yeah, another cold case, trying to figure things out on their own, offered a reward, same thing, you know, and neither of those cases got a lot of media attention. Now you have the Idaho 4. You guys are familiar. If you're here, you've probably watched another one of our videos, and you know what's going on there.
Yep.
The most media attention ever. This is maybe one of the most viewed insane cases ever, and funny how it works out like that when this is probably one of the most secretive cases. When you try to keep everything secret, people want to know. You should have just came out and been open with it.
There's a gag order on everything. Now they're trying to get rid of cameras.
Yeah, and that was, of course, if this is your first time here, Ethan, 20 years old, Xana, 20 years old, Kaylee, 21, and Madison, 21 years old.
So young.
All these cases are awful, you guys. But why we're talking about them is I feel like there's a connection. Now, we say this on every single video. We've already said it once tonight, and I'm going to say it again. We don't need Bryan Kohberger to be innocent. We don't need him to be guilty. We just want to make sure that they have the right guy, and that whoever the guy is, Bryan in this circumstance, is being given a fair trial.
We
and
want
it makes
real
sense.
justice.
Real
truth.
Justice. Real evidence and
The
a real
truth.
conviction.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Thought Riot is all about. All right, so let's start going through this. Date. This is interesting, you guys. So all the things in red are information that matches, and I should have actually highlighted the dates in red too and given an explanation there, but and you guys watching will see this as we're talking through it. But starting left to right, so date, Sandra Ladd, happened on June 13th, okay, 13th, 13, that's the number, June 13th of 2020. Travis Jamie Lynn Jutton happened on August 13th. We think there's a numerology aspect to this case just because of addresses, ages, things like that. And that it could seem totally tin hat, but you have to try and put yourself in the head of a serial ender, all right? Because, yes, looking at numbers could be tin hat-ish. But if it's important to the serial ender, then it should be important to law enforcement. And that's why we say here at Thought Riot, look at everything.
Yeah, and if there's a ton of coincidences with the dates and times and numbers, then that's something, okay?
Look at threes.
There
threes.
There can't be that many coincidences.
Yeah, especially in a murder.
Like, how many coincidences in a murder until you're like, well, multiple murders where you're like, okay.
Something's up.
Something's up.
Yeah.
There's a correlation.
So first we had June 13th, 2020. 1 year later we have August 13th, 2021. And then Idaho 4, of course, is November 13th, 2022. Roughly a 12-month period. We'll get down to the potential cooldown in just a minute. So what is the common factor there? The 13th. 3. There seems to be some kind of correlation to the 13th. Now, that Julie Ray case that I don't believe is tied to this was also October 13th. And I think that's why it started getting some attention and people looking at it and things like that. Plus, it was a knife crime. It just doesn't match the MO of some of the other ones. But we'll talk around about it. So here's the other important factor. Time. Going left to right. We have Sandra Ladd. Unknown for sure because she was found later, okay? She was actually found on the 14th, and they said that they believed she was ended between the 12th and the 13th. So it could be either of those, but what's important is she was found in her bed. So she was sleeping. It would be during sleeping hours. So if I had to guess based on all the other details that align here, I would say that's going to be on the 13th, the night of the 13th, right? Mm-hmm. So Sandra, unknown, but is believed to be 3 a.m. Travis Jamie Lynn Juten, 3 a.m. confirmed. And there was another person present there, so that's confirmed. Idaho 4, about 3 a.m. We've been told in between 2 and 4. Nothing is confirmed for certain, but it's right around the 3 a.m.-ish time, between 2 and 4, you know. So that gives us a correlating time frame on all of these. And we've said this before on here, but serial enders hunt or do their thing around the same times. Mm-hmm. So, going down to weapon, all of these, you guys, all of them, all 4 of them. And the Julie Ray case was around 4 a.m., but could have been 3. She wasn't sure. She went through a traumatic event.
Even if the Idaho 4 was, like, actually 4 a.m., like they're saying, all of them, it looks like, would have taken place between 3 to 4 a.m. anyway. Yep. So I think that's important.
It is important.
Even if it's not about the 3s, and it's just they work night shift and that's when they get off.
It sure seems it's about 3s. Or most of this stuff adds up to
or
3s.
They think that's the best time. I mean, yeah, maybe, but Idaho 4 right now they're saying is 4:15 or 4:20, which we think they could be stretching that to fit the narrative.
Could the Idaho 4, should it, according to the serial ender, have been 3?
Could have.
Was this supposed to go 1 victim, 2 victim, 3 victim? You know what I mean? So weapon, all of them, you guys. Long, sharp-edged weapon, not found. Not found for Sandra Ladd, not found for Travis and Jamie Lynn Juten, not found for the Idaho 4. They believe that a K-bar could have fit any of these crimes. It is a large weapon with slashing, gashing wounds. Interesting, right?
Yep.
So going down to potential cooldown time, if we're assuming Sandra Ladd is number 1, and we've said this before, I'll explain it again on here, but for a first victim of serial enders, it's very common for them to be a weaker type of person. So we're talking kids, we're talking older people or animals, something where they feel confident they can control them physically. So could Sandra Ladd, 71 years old, been number 1? Maybe. it looks like it makes sense here. It
The
looks like
first
it makes
killing?
sense. Yeah, it looks like it makes sense on paper. So if we assume, all right, if we just pretend that Sandra's number one, that would mean that the cooldown period, potential cooldown period, is 14 months for Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton, okay? So one was ended on June 13th, 2020, and then the Jutons were 8/13/2021. Now when we move over to Idaho 4, that's right around the same time, between 14 and 15 month cooldown period, you guys, putting us at 11/13 of 2022. Very similar cooldown period if we're looking at those two secondary crimes and Sandra as one. So interesting, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this helps me visualize like how much more crazy it is that these align in the way they do. Even more so than when we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Now, age. Sandra Ladd was 71 years old. Travis, 26. Jamie Lynn, 24. Ethan, 20. Xana, 20. Kaylee, 21. Madison, 21. Could this serial ender be getting more bold? Closer to people that are more in shape, you know? Escalating like we see serial people do, like Ted Bundy, literally escalate. Maybe. Now,
Maybe.
location. This is why I'm calling this the potential, maybe, not for sure, Northeast slasher is Washougal, Oregon is Sandra Ladd. Within a 70-mile radius is Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton, Salem, Oregon, which is roughly about an hour and 15 minutes drive. Now we have the Idaho 4 in Moscow, Idaho, which is about 5.5 hours, 6 hours from the Travis and Sandra location.
Yeah, it's a pretty far drive.
It is, but it's drivable. And that's important.
It is
drivable. Could somebody have moved there? Could somebody have went to school? Could these first two been when somebody is 16 and 17 years old or 17 and 18 years old, go to college and they're 19 now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could this have been possible in that way? I think it's possible based on experience we've seen in the past. Pets. If we assume Sandra Ladd is number one, she did not, or I couldn't find if she had any pets. I'm sorry. I didn't get confirmation one way or the other. But when we look at Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton, they did have a pet. That pet was left unharmed. It was put in a room with the door shut. When we look... Yeah.
Like
Idaho 4. Dog put in a different room with the door shut. If you're going to end a bunch of people, why the animals? Like, that's a strange coincidence, right? An uncommon coincidence when you have such a lack of a concern for life in humans, but you make sure the animal is closed in the other room.
Kohberger's a vegan.
Yeah.
Maybe it's him.
Right. He's a vegan for health reasons, though. But yeah, totally. Others present, this is important. With Sandra Ladd, no. It is not known that anybody else was present during this crime. Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton, yes, they were leaving to Hawaii the very next day to travel together, and they had someone staying over at their house, a friend that was going to watch their animal. And the ender walked right past that person in the house, like they knew the area, maybe
like
had been watching.
A guest bedroom, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
watching. Oh no, a couch. They were on the couch. Yeah, walked right past them, like they were focused on what they were doing, like they knew where they were going, and went to town on Travis and Jamie Lynn, unfortunately. Now we look at the Idaho 4. As you all know, yes, 2 other people were present during that, right? So, forced entry, starting with Sandra Ladd. We have no forced entry. Again, I think that's super important. With Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton, no forced entry. Super important.
Yeah.
Idaho 4, no forced entry. Super important.
We got it. It's important.
Was this person stalking? Like, the reason why I'm saying that is because I want to know the reasons surrounding it. Did they pick the victims based on knowing that they leave a door unlocked? Did they already check the day before for a window unlocked? Like, how did they know?
Yeah, and I do think it's interesting that the Idaho 4 house had the keypad door lock, which means they would need to know a code. Now, granted, Kaylee's sister did say that a lot of people had that code. So,
yeah.
But that would imply it was somebody they knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless they got in through an unlocked door.
Or they're at college. How many people have been at that house partying that we saw in body cam footage? Could somebody that was stalking go into that party and start talking to them, or other people that had the code and been like, hey, I need to go grab something from my car. What's that code again for the house? You know, could they have been doing like reconnaissance in there?
Yeah,
it's
very
possible. Another important aspect, DNA. Sandra Ladd, no DNA at crime scene could be found. The Jutons, no DNA at the crime scene could be found. Idaho 4, yes, DNA found, but questionable based on it being touch DNA. When I'm referencing the DNA, I'm more specifically referencing direct DNA, which is going to be blood from the suspect. And the reason, like, why I put that there is because during knife crimes, it's very, 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 very common that when you're doing stabbing motions that your hand slips, especially when blood starts coming out and things like that. And it's super common that a suspect will slice their own hands right here, which you would leave blood then, DNA at the scene. And none of that was found, which makes it feel like the suspect had experience with a knife, or they were experienced enough to own a knife that that would combat that issue. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, interesting. Other details. Unknown for Sandra Ladd. No one was present. She was found about 24 hours later. We don't know any other details with it. So, Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton, it was a masked intruder, only showing the eyes, confirmed by the person staying in there to watch their animal. Idaho 4, masked intruder. Again, I know this is questioned, and if we're going to hear more and find out more of those details, but we go with what we know, and masked intruder, right? Shows the eyes, bushy eyebrows. Yeah. Bushy eyebrows, Sandra Ladd, unknown. Bushy eyebrows, Jutons, unknown. Bushy eyebrows, Idaho 4, yes.
Very important.
Bushy eyebrows as evidence.
Incredibly important.
Yes. Would I be considered to have bushy eyebrows? I don't think so. I think my eyebrows are standard version. Yeah. I ordered standard. So.
I don't think they're considered bushy. Maybe if you let them like go completely and did not groom yourself, they would be bushy, but maybe.
Let me know what you think. Where was Kohberger during all of this, okay? So, during the Sandra Ladd case on June 13th of 2020, Bryan Kohberger was in DeSales University, Pennsylvania, pursuing his criminology career, okay?
Across the country.
Yep, across the country. It was the second school he was going to continue moving towards his doctorate program. Now, where was Kohberger during Travis and Jamie Lynn Juton DeSales University. Apparently he had graduated by now, but there were some additional classes that you could take post-graduation at DeSales, and he was in one of those programs. So he was doing additional schooling at this time still in DeSales University. Now, Idaho 4, where was Kohberger? Obviously Washington State University, living in an apartment in Pullman, Washington. Now, questions, okay? How many coincidences does there have to be before people look at other possible suspects as a viable option? I see more coincidences here than more differences.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I see more similarities than differences, which is strange.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. The only... My only question is obviously, like, how did the Idaho 4... Say this was, like, a serial killer being made, which I was theorizing maybe the first victim was, like, the person's grandma or mother.
Some kind of personal connection or something. Yeah.
So look into her family. And then the next one was, like, maybe, like, more planned and targeted. Yep. How did the Idaho 4 get on their radar? Like, what... You know what I mean?
Yep. How young were they, or could they have been, if this was one person for Sandra Ladd? How young were they with Travis and Jamie Lynn Jutin? It makes me wonder. And what's interesting is it's very uncommon in a knife crime to not leave DNA.
Yeah, it's up close personal. It's messy. It's, you know, it's pretty hard to not leave any DNA. Which
makes me feel like this automatically rules out, like, kitchen knives. Yeah. Because this has an actual handguard handle. I know it's named something specific. I'll probably have it up on the screen by now. But that little guard that goes over your hand.
Yeah, like it fit. Like there's the
like on a K-bar.
And then there's like that wider piece, and it blocks your hand from slipping.
Slipping up into the blade, which happens with a lot of other knives that don't have that. Kitchen knives in particular, like with Julie Ray. Now... No DNA.
And no forced entry.
And we have the main three. The heavy three here, you guys. We have similar date, similar time, similar weapon, and similar cooldown. That's 4, but it's date, time, and weapon.
That is really important, in my opinion.
Really important.
Yeah.
Really important. All of them were on the 13th of the month. All of them were at or around 3 a.m. All of them were with a long, sharp, so they all said large knife, large, sharp-edged weapon.
Yep.
And all of them, the weapon could not be found, and they could never confirm the exact weapon. Meaning, I think that the wounds were similar to Idaho 4. If the wounds are so big and so violent, they wouldn't be able to go get 100 knives to try and see which ones match the best. They're too big and too violent. I just can't let this go. The cooldown time gets me. Similar cooldown time.
Yeah.
Masked. Others present. It didn't stop them in the Jutins. It didn't stop them in Idaho 4. They were skilled enough not to leave DNA. What is going on? What's interesting is, I started thinking bushy eyebrows, okay? How do you know that if you're going to do one of those crimes, you don't take an elbow to the eye or something and your eyebrow hairs fall out? If this person is skilled enough to know what to do in this situation, are we sure they didn't have tape over their eyebrows? Because everything else is covered. Clad in black, hands covered, everything covered, no DNA, but you leave your eyebrows? DNA-filled eyebrows?
I don't know.
I feel like you would put tape on them or something, which might make them look bushy.
Sounds so ridiculous.
I mean, that's the way you don't get caught.
Wait, tape on your eyebrows would make them look bushy?
Maybe if it's flat and they look super thick at night. I don't know.
So what, they brushed them up flat and then put tape on
I
them?
think as long as you put tape on them to prevent any eyebrows from falling out. But
Strange.
the no forced entry makes me wonder, stalking. Did this person watch the victims before?
Yep.
Is this an extended thrill kill where they start 3 months ahead of time and watch them periodically at night when they have free time to do it until they're comfortable and ready to go? We have was it Maddie who said stalker or Kaylee? It was Maddie.
No, Kaylee
It
thought
was
she
Kaylee?
had a stalker.
Okay,
yeah.
so Kaylee believed she had a stalker. Could this have been this person?
Yeah.
Watching, planning, seeing when they walked indoors and what doors when they didn't have keys. Could they have been watching for the keypad? Could they have been doing these things and she picked up on it? I want to know what you guys think in all this.
Yeah.
Is what I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know too, because it's really, really strange. And I know you were asking, like, in the live stream, am I losing my mind? Because this is, like, too many coincidences.
That's what I feel like. Why am I only now hearing about this? We've been covering this case for, like, 4 months, dude. How has this not been brought up?
Gold star of the chat.
Well, yeah, that's who ended up
Ian.
helping us find it. Yeah, Ian. And I am so appreciative of that. But why is this not being talked about more? Am I missing something? Has somebody proven something that makes this not viable information anymore, actionable intel? Because in a case, okay, this is how I imagine it. They have Kohberger, but until he's convicted, wouldn't you keep working the case to make sure or find more evidence?
I'm pretty sure they claimed they were and I'm pretty sure they did. I don't know about right now, but
I need to know what you guys think. What do you think about this chart? What do you think about the coincidences and the similarities, the long weapon, the same time, similar date, no DNA, others present, forced entry, masks not, bushy eyebrows, and everything in between?
I love that you added the bushy eyebrows.
You have to. You have to, right?
You got to. It's a vital piece of information.
It is. Who doesn't love bushy eyebrows? Let us know what you think, please. And I think we've dug into this pretty good. We might keep talking about it, but I feel like we've covered a lot on this. I just want to know what other people think now. That's the one piece I'm missing. Am I losing it? Has something ruled this out? Because they asked specifically about this and pre-Kohberger, and Fry said that they knew about these and they looked into it and there was no connection.
Right.
How? Can you explain how? What did you do to look into it? What proved that it's not connected?
They're cold cases. They're cold cases. You don't know who did it, so how are you proving that?
That's what I want to know. How did you prove that they aren't connected?
Yeah.
How? Is there something with the wounds that we just don't know? Is there a footprint left at each that makes it not connected? I don't know. You know what I mean? What do you think? And let us know. Maybe we'll do a premiere with this one too and just kick it off some good conversation. But let your thoughts riot in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Let me know if I am just way off course here and help straighten us out.
Yeah.
Yes. Bow, 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 bow.